Hello, my name is David Braben. I'm CEO of Frontier Developments, and welcome to the Xbox One Party Chat podcast.
Xbox on.
Game on, baby! Wow!
Don't make a girl a promise you can't keep.
Let's do this.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Xbox One Party Chat, the official podcast of the Xbox One subreddit. I am this week's host, Ross Miller, and I'm joined by, he's known as Clay by some, and Uncle Jessy by others. It's Uncle Clay Jessy Parker.
What's going on, Ross?
Confused.
And we thought that he was no longer going to be on the podcast as someone told us he was Finnish. It's Rhys.
That's just rude. That's racist, sir.
Love that dad joke.
So guys, we are a month into the podcast already. It's been 4 weeks as it's episode 4. Can you believe that that's been a month already this has been running?
Wow. It's gone so fast.
Yep. It's a little too crazy for me, personally.
Yeah. I just want to thank everyone in the subreddit and Twitter's been blowing up. It's just been an amazing 4 weeks. So thank you everyone that's offered the support and listened over the last few weeks. It's been great.
Yeah.
But the show must go on, as they say, and we do have David Braben from Frontier later in the episode for an interview where he's going to be discussing some Horizons. He's excited to hear about that.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
We were at
I'm a huge Elite fan. I have been like my whole life, so I can't wait to talk to him.
You've already talked to him. We've already recorded it.
You just gotta be the guy to shatter the illusion, don't you? There's children crying now because of you. You're like, Santa is not real. You're that guy.
They're not doing this
Sure.
live.
Oh.
Live? They're pre-recording things
anyway,
for us? How dare they?
Well, anyway, Rhys, you were at something very exciting this week. So would you like to say what you were doing?
Yeah, sure. This week I actually attended a presentation by ID at Xbox. If anyone doesn't know, that's the Xbox Indie Developer Program at Flux Helsinki. And it was hosted by Agostino Simonetta. That's really hard to say, and even he knows it, so he goes by Ago. And he is the European head of the ID at Xbox program. And it was super cool. I got to sit there and listen to him explain basically how to join the program and what the challenges that are faced by indie developers on all platforms are, and all the things that Microsoft does to help indie developers grow. Like, for example, if you sign up for the program, Microsoft will give you 2 free dev kits and a free license for Unity. I did not know that. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just super cool and super informative. And Ago, if you're listening, hi. When I came up to him after the show and introduced myself, his face lit up. He knew exactly who I was. He is an avid reader of the sub, so well done, guys. He loves you and he likes the podcast as well. So yeah, hi Ago. Next week, I'm going to something called Games First in Helsinki, and I'm going to see Sam Lake speak about the making of Quantum Break and a whole bunch of other stuff. It should be very fun.
That should be awesome.
So I'll be sure and tell you guys what happens there.
Brilliant. And it was also a big week for the subreddit, wasn't it?
It was. We entered the top 200 subreddits, and we passed the 200,000 subscriber mark at the exact same time.
It's almost as if it's linked.
You're just negative Nelly today, Ross. What's up? Do you need a hug?
Oh, I am a happy chap.
Happy Scotsman.
Now, I was on and I seen some links to another subreddit called r/. True Xbox? What was that about?
Well, we've gone mainstream, haven't we? We're no longer cool.
Oh, is this the edgy alternative?
Yeah.
It seems that way, yeah.
The new
There's
underground.
actually spread some of my negativity about True Xbox now.
It's like the hipster subreddit now.
That's right.
Oh.
There's going to be chai lattes in there and beards and everything.
That's right.
Some craft beer.
I'm actually working on the last week on True Xbox video posting, so it'll be up Monday.
Right. So, what have you guys been playing this week? Start with you, Clay.
Yeah, Ross, right up your alley, man. I've been playing the Gears 4 beta. I think that between that and Rocket League Hoops Edition, I've been getting my rear end handed to me on Hoops. Cannot seem to get that into the goal there, but Gears 4, man, I am absolutely loving that, and I cannot wait. When's that coming out? This September? So I'm
October.
Something like that.
October, yeah. I'm gonna be sad when this beta ends. I could no joke just keep playing this until it's released. So.
What I've noticed is the more you learn the maps, the easier it gets.
Right.
It's just learning those routes. That's what I always find the focal points. But I've loved that as well. So yeah, for me this week, I have been playing through Fallout again.
Oh, nice.
With the DLC, just doing a little bit. Well, not playing through it again. I hadn't finished my first run through, but I'm doing some of the DLC stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've basically spent this week in my settlements pimping them all out. Can I say that?
Yeah, I think you can. I was going to say one does not simply finish a Fallout game.
No.
Or
you certainly get your money's worth at a Fallout game, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's just the Bethesda thing, isn't it? Huge open world, technically an infinite amount of activities.
Yeah, well, I want to have my sort of main core bits of it done for the mods coming in, because there's still some achievements that I need to get, and once you use a mod, you can no longer unlock the achievements.
Oh, really?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I want to get my achievements out the way before I mod it and add some stuff in. And of course there's some new DLC coming as well. But yeah, I'm still enjoying Wandering the Wasteland.
Ross, do you know if once you put in a mod, have you heard anything about that? If you put in a mod, can you just at any point turn it off? Or have you heard how that works? It
creates a split save. Mm-hmm. So you've got the save pre-mod and then the save post-mod. You can revert back to the pre-mod save.
Okay. Oh, that's smart.
But then you've lost your content post-mod, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah. I would rather get the sort of, the bits that I want to do out the way, get my settlement good, and then I'm not too bothered about if I use a mod. And I can't wait to see what the Fallout community make for it. So
right.
Yeah. Rhys, what about you?
I have been very, very busy this week, actually. Like I said, going to the presentation and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I have still been playing Quantum Break. I've been chipping away at it. I still haven't finished it yet. I've got to be pretty close to the end by now, I think. But yeah, playing Quantum Break, and also just a little bit of on the Wii U, The Legend of Zelda Wind Walker in HD, which is a really good HD remake. But yes, it's a really nice remake. I know I'm not talking about Xbox here, but that game has seriously held up to scrutiny graphically. It's really good. It's my favorite Zelda. Run at me.
So Rhys, are there still pots that you can break in that over and over?
Dude,
and over
it's
again?
Zelda.
Just go into some guy's store and trash his pots in his store. Yeah.
You know something? Whoever makes pottery in Zelda must be a millionaire. Something I've just always thought about. They constantly get work, don't they? They're not going to be out of work anytime soon.
No.
But I think we'll move on to the week on the subreddit.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll start us off with my pick. Red Destiny TJ. Now, just to say, we're reading off some notes here because we write them all down, and someone's decided to put in the Rossinator to read this, so quite happy I'm going to keep that name. It's a rumour that a new Xbox hardware and controller is to be announced at E3. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on that. First of all, what do you think it will be? Is it going to be an Elite, a Slim, a Xbox 1.5? What are we going to see?
Ooh, tough call. Because Phil came out and specifically said that he does not like the concept of an Xbox One and a half. But with the NX launching and also the PS Neo, there's some pretty stiff competition there that might force their hands. What do you think, Clay?
Yeah, I think if anything, I don't think we're going to see the whole modular Xbox that they were talking about. I can't remember what show that was. Maybe it was GDC or something just recently. But I do think what they will be announcing is a slim Xbox One. And I have a feeling that there might just be an Elite moving forward. So what's the Elite come with? 1 terabyte hard drive or 2 terabyte hard drive? I think that's going to be the standard moving forward for
it's a 1 terabyte SSD drive.
Nice.
I think it's a hybrid SSD actually. Someone on the sub will tell me I'm wrong, so yeah.
better you than me.
And also we do enjoy, we always get corrected every week in the comments, and we're quite happy to be corrected because it's learning.
Yes.
So for me, I think, I don't know, I like the charm of the bigger Xbox. I think we may get a discless console digitally.
That would be nice. But I mean, cool. I don't know why there's so much hate for the size and shape of the Xbox. Maybe I just have no taste. But I think the Xbox One actually looks pretty good. And the fact that it has an absolutely gigantic fan in there stops it from overheating and doesn't make a sound at all. Like, do you guys own PS4s?
Yes.
I do, yeah.
That thing is loud. When you got a disc in there, it's like a turbine.
If I'm honest, my console is quite noisy when the fan goes.
Your Xbox One?
Yeah.
How close do you sit to it?
Maybe about a quarter of a metre.
Okay, well.
No, I'm only joking. No, it can at times sound a little bit noisy, but, everyone's console's different with different wear and tear and things as well. Mm-hmm. But, would you drop more money on a slim console, or?
Yes.
No.
I would.
Discless?
Discless, at the moment for me, I do like the concept of that. I don't own a lot of... Actually, I do have a lot of digital games now. I still have a good bit that are on disc that I've purchased. But I would definitely buy another console. I've been on the fence about picking up another one. And I'm waiting to see what comes with this. But a slim for me, I'm fine with the current model, how thick it is and how big it is, other than the fact that when I travel, I would like to bring it with me, and it being so large makes it a pain to carry around with me. A slimmer Xbox One, I would be in love with, just for travel purposes.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, it's something that I've never actually done, so yeah, that makes perfect sense for me, actually. Yeah, the travel edition.
12, do you guys remember the GameCube?
Oh yeah,
because it had like a handle on the back there just for you to pick up.
It did.
Yeah.
Ultra convenient.
Yeah, no, totally. But you used to walk around your friend's house with your GameCube. Everyone would bring round their controllers, and you would have a party night. Yeah, no, I can understand that. With the internet, that sort of
redundant
console idea is a little bit redundant because people tend to stay in their own houses to play now. But yeah, no, I can understand. Look, is this to counter the NX next year? Sony and Xbox are both upgrading the hardware halfway through the generation, potentially. Again, it's all rumour, okay? But is this to counter the NX? Do they know something we don't?
I would say absolutely. Like, of course, all the companies know roughly what's going on in the other companies. I would say that Sony and Microsoft, like Sony's definitely not worried because they have so many PS4s right now. They could just stop making games and for the rest of the gen and they'd still be fine. But they definitely don't want to lose their edge. And, Nintendo is like a wild card because everyone knows where Nintendo is. And if word gets out on the street that the new Nintendo is like, the hot shit, then that's probably something that's going to worry both Microsoft and Sony.
So do you think that you had mentioned that the Sony has the edge right now with the PS4, and there's so many people that own the PS4. If new consoles are coming out, I kind of see that as an advantage for Nintendo and Xbox. That means that all these people already have PlayStations. They're probably less likely to buy another PlayStation, potentially, and they'd be more open to buying the newest and latest Nintendo or Xbox console, potentially. I don't know. Maybe my thinking's completely off on this.
No, that's a very good point.
It's a good point, yeah.
Then again, I am the guy that just said 2 seconds ago that I was wanting to buy another Xbox One. So.
It's like, for me, if I want to buy a second Xbox, it has to do something that my first Xbox does not.
Preach, brother.
So like for what you said, being portable doesn't really bother me. The Elite is attractive, especially since it comes with an Elite controller. But it needs to do something that I don't. So I'm open to suggestions, and I'm looking forward to see what happens at E3 this year, when we can all stop speculating and find out exactly what the deal is.
Yeah.
Clay.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any stories that stand out for you in the subreddit this week?
Yeah, I'm actually going to talk about a post that user Brian Miller submitted, which was about the world premiere for the new Battlefield game announcement this coming Friday on May 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern. So I wanted to chat with you guys. I mean, I'm a huge Battlefield fan, and wanted to get both of your opinions on what you guys think the game might be about. Are they going to go futuristic? Are they going to go old school World War II style? Are they going to stick with the modern theme? What do you guys think?
Well, I love Battlefield. I mean, Clay, you and I have played Battlefield 4 together on several occasions. Yep. And so I'm also really, really excited. But on the subject of whether it's going to be futuristic or not, that's a really hard call, because on one hand, Battlefield 2142 would be an easy sell. Mm-hmm. And not just that, but because all of the DLC in Battlefield 4 was sort of leading towards the world of 2142, even with Titan mode, which was the staple of 2143. And but at the same time, the future shooter market is completely flooded. Right. You've got Titanfall 2, you've got the last 3 Call of Duties, you've got Halo, you got everything. So it would really come out of left field and feel kind of fresh if Battlefield went back in time.
What was the game that they had that came out as an arcade title on the 360?
1943.
1943. I absolutely loved that game, and I can't tell you how many hours I put into that. And I kept thinking about this when they were saying that this announcement's going to happen this coming Friday, and going, fingers crossed, please let it be more of that. Please let it be more of that. Just larger and more destructibility. I'd be all over it.
See, I think it is going to be that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we've already got the new Call of Duty supposedly set in space. It's looking that way. Mm-hmm. We've got Titanfall 2 dropping this year. Is Battlefield really going to go up against them this year? Or is it going to offer something different from those two so that people might pick up a multiple purchase?
Yeah.
Hard sell.
I personally think that they might go down that route. Now, yes, the custom, you can't customize certain things and everything else, but you can still have battle packs in Battlefield. Mm-hmm. If they're wanting to do their in-game purchases. They can still unlock special outfits and weapons and everything else. They still have that option. Yes, it might not look as pretty as having a pink zebra-striped machine gun, which we all have. But, for me, being that different, and EA have been good over the last few years, and I would really love for them to see and give what a lot of the fans I know really want, and that is this.
Yeah. EA has been really doing a good job of improving their previously awful reputation.
Yes, they
Really, it's really hard to think that like now the standing that EA have and the way that they do listen to fans and implement things and everything else. It's really, really great to look forward to an EA conference and to see what they have. I cannot wait for Friday just to see what it is. Like you guys, I really like Battlefield, and I can't wait for Friday.
Why haven't the three of us played together yet?
I don't have time to game because I'm always podcasting.
Or prepping for podcasts, or editing podcasts, or bleeping out the podcasts, or...
If anyone's curious, like, I take all the credit as the moderator, but it's actually Ross who does the work here.
Yeah.
Oh,
and Jessy just turns up.
I just show up.
Rhys, what was your pick of the week?
My pick is very sad news. User Blackout747 posted the link that Lionhead is closing today, frowny face. So it's the end of an era. It's like undeniably a big moment in games history. And how do you guys feel about that? I want to know did you guys actually play the Fable Legends beta? Did you like it? Did you not like it? If you did, what do you think it needed to actually be successful?
No, I didn't play it, and I had it installed, and I could have played it at any time. But any time I sat down and I went to that My Games and Apps and I looked at all the titles that I had, something else caught my eye before Fable Legends ever did.
Yep.
Ouch.
And yeah, and that is, and it does sound quite harsh, but I wasn't excited for the game.
I wasn't either. Yeah. It's
Did you play it, Clay?
Yeah.
No. It's the same situation as Ross. While I did enjoy the first Fable game and I think it was the second. I can't remember if it was the second or I can't remember. I didn't play one of them. I might have skipped the second and played the third. Definitely enjoyed those. Loved the first one. But for whatever reason, I just really was not interested in Fable Legends at all. I really kept hoping that they were going to go back and do another black and white series. I don't know if you guys ever played those back on
I loved
PC. And I was going, fingers crossed they're going to do that. Fingers crossed they're going to do that. And it never happened.
So that means that I'm the only one out of us three that actually played the beta.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, I guess really we don't need to elaborate on that any further, just because that really says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. In that case, now that Lionhead is gone, there was a big argument in the comments I noticed while reading through over Fable 3. Do you guys think it was good or bad? It seems really polarizing.
I'm a middle ground in the sense that I didn't think it was amazing, but I didn't think it was as bad as what other people made out.
And Clay, you already established that you have no idea which games.
Yeah, I was going. My opinion is it must have been so good that I can't remember if it was 2 or 3 that I actually played through.
Okay, in the one you played, did you become king?
I do not recall that. No.
Then you skipped 3. Well,
right.
I'm with you, Ross. I actually think that Fable 3 addressed so many issues that Fable 2 had. I think if you were to go and play 2, then 3, I think a lot of this is a lot of the hate for 3 is actually like unfounded rose-tinted glasses. But it definitely wasn't amazing. That's always been a staple of the Fable series, I think, and that's really good, but not as good as it could be. Like, there's nothing worse than playing a game that's almost awesome. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes absolute perfect sense to me. We now move over to a pre-recorded interview with David Braben.
All right. Hey, everybody. We are very, very excited to be bringing you another wonderful interview. And today it's with Frontier Development's own David Braben. So with us today is myself, Uncle Jessy, along with Ross.
Hello.
And Rhys.
Hello.
So Rhys, why don't you go ahead and introduce our wonderful guest?
Well, okay, sure. Today, as you just mentioned, we have David Braben, and David is. I've just totally screwed up that. Let's go again. So yeah, as you just mentioned before, we have David Braben with us, and I really don't think it's fair for me to tell you who he is. I think David should introduce himself. Say hi, David.
Sure. Hi, everybody. So I'm the founder of Frontier. You know me. We did the Elite game with Ian Bell all the way back in the early 80s, which came out in 1984, and masses of games since. So a huge gaming fan and fan of sci-fi generally. Really great to be on the podcast. Obviously, a lot of people know about Elite Dangerous. If you don't, then I'll be surprised you're listening to this podcast. But, come and join us. It's great fun. We did a Kickstarter and all sorts of things and brought back a genre, which I'm very proud of.
Yeah. It's absolutely fantastic to have you with us. We're very happy. So thank you for giving us some of your time today.
You're very welcome.
So, moving on, just to say, you mentioned Elite Dangerous there, of course, and one of the questions I just would like to know is what goes into building a star-spanning sci-fi universe?
A massive amount. I mean, there are so many challenges. I mean, I've always been massively fascinated by just how big space is, how big the galaxy is, how different a world it is, and how our existence is all on this tiny little grain of dust in a huge sort of sea of swimming other sort of motes of dust, if you like. And it's that feeling of the enormity of it and being able to be part of that is something that I've wanted to do for such a long time. I mean, with the original Elite that I did with Ian, I think was trying to sort of scratch that itch, if you like, even in 80s technology. And with the Elite series, I've sort of essentially done it better each time. And I think Elite Dangerous is a real tour de force. So the amazing team here have gone so much further than I was ever able to do, with the whole simulation of the galaxy, which is so rich and big and varied and is getting better by each update that we do. If you look at, we've got sort of millimeter scale planets that are truly planet size and even bigger than Earth, going right down to essentially rocks that are only 100 miles across. But I say only 100 miles across. When you think of that as a game level, that's still absolutely humongous. And you can drive around them in your SRV or fly around them in a ship and land and all that sort of thing, genuinely seamlessly. And so they've done such a great job of realizing that, and all of the detail that's behind it, all the simulation that goes into it, whether it's the chemistry of the planet formation, or whether it's the physics of how all the little planetesimals gather together to make the planets, how planets fling each other out of orbits and all that sort of thing that is in the game. It's that side of it. And I'm sure there is a group of people listening to this going, oh, God, yawn. That's a
I doubt that. No.
Well, no, they might say, what's the point? And the answer is that the point is there for a lot of us. It matters a lot to me, a huge amount to me. I think it matters an awful lot to people I've seen on the Elite Dangerous Reddit, for example, on the Xbox subreddit as well. The fact that there's so much science behind it. But we would have had to have done a background anyway, and it's nice to have the background to be real. In the same way, I love films that have grounding in reality, even if they're fictional in a realistic setting. Like a Second World War film inherits so much from the Second World War and the settings, even if the characters are fictional. And it's that sort of spirit that sort of came behind it, and the sort of, so to sort of answer the question, what goes into it, an awful lot of care, love, thought, blood, sweat, tears, late nights, and all that from a lot of people. And I get to take the credit, which feels a bit wrong somehow, but it's not all bad.
So David, you mentioned there that there were some influences from film and cinema. Could you sort of expand on that? I mean, what really helped influence this series and this particular title? Is there any specific sci-fi movies or TV shows that helped influence this?
Well, I think, to be honest, that for me personally, at least, the biggest influence was books. Particularly books during the late 60s, early 70s that I would devour as a kid. Whenever they came out, I'd just read them avidly and immerse myself into those sort of sci-fi worlds, all slightly different, all with sort of different bases behind them. And I think the first time I saw that embodied in film was the first Star Wars film. That was, I was sort of an impressionable teenager at the time. And I thought that was great. It was the first time a film sort of crossed the boundary into the richness of the sci-fi, hinting at so much more. The whole Mos Eisley bar, the spirit that individual people didn't matter, all of that sort of feel, which was a common trope of a lot of the books at the time. But if you think of things that were around at that time, like Star Trek, and there had been lots of others, they're all quite different and shallow in the way that they were put together, and didn't match the richness of the sci-fi worlds of people like Niven, Cornell, Asimov, and the large number forward, all the people, the writers of that period. The writing's carried on, and I've kept, I was a huge fan of Ian M. Banks, who's obviously sadly recently died. Yeah, he's got such, but it's that sort of richness that I'm talking about. If you haven't read the earlier sort of science fiction of the 60s and 70s, particularly the 70s, which was actually very forward-looking.
Yeah.
I think, just to answer the question more richness, obviously we've got a very big team, and I think if you ask each person, they'd probably say they would put a different emphasis on their influences. And, if it's from an art direction point of view, all of these sort of things. I think what's happened is we've together come up with a really consistent art style, which has had lots of inputs from lots of places. But as I say, for me personally, the strongest influence is books and maybe those early Star Wars films.
Great. You say that because it is hard to just look at the game and go, oh, that's heavily influenced by this. It is very distinctive in its own way, so that's a great answer for explaining that. But
well, also, just to answer that a little bit further, one of the things that I always hate is when things are particularly derivative of other things.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If ever I see something internally saying, oh, that's a bit like so-and-so. We said, right, it can't be a bit like so-and-so. It has to be ours. And it's one of the strong reasons that, for example, I've said, no, we're not having artificial gravity. We do it because that is actually differentiates ourselves. If you look at the sort of the iconic, I suppose toilet roll might be the way to describe the inside of the station, the giant cylinder that you land on.
Yeah.
That's something that I've never, not even heard of seen in books, but it's such an obvious way to do it. Because even if we had artificial gravity, it would consume vast amounts of power, because, just for obvious reasons, whereas rotating something, it will stay rotating essentially indefinitely. So your artificial gravity is basically free, albeit on a slightly annoying curved surface.
Now, do you think more publishers are going to start to create their own space games now that Your Own Game and Star Citizen are doing well and came from crowdfunding?
Maybe. I think obviously I've worked in the publisher process for more than 30 years. And I think I've seen it happen where what happens is the initial concept is great. And it's the real challenge, which I think publishing is waking up to. So I think the quick answer is yes. But if you look at a game like Mass Effect, or there have been others as well, where in a big publishing organization, there's a green light process, which happens early on in a project where often a vertical slice of gameplay is put together.
Yeah.
And the marketing department has to sign off, development has to sign off, lots of different departments sign off, both finance obviously has to sign off. And one of the big challenges is, and I don't want to name publishers or anything, but during my life, obviously, I've had a lot of discussions with publishers about games, space games.
Yeah.
And the challenge is always you see this process starting where they say, all right, well, how do we promote a space game? We want a character. And I obviously watched the Mass Effect games with huge interest. And, they internally talked about that as a space game. And which obviously it is on the face of it. But when you think of it actually in the way you play it, they say, oh, you need a character to focus the marketing on, because that's what people empathize with, which is fine. And then very quickly you go down the route of, oh, the character's got to interact with other characters. And very quickly you have what is essentially a first-person game set in a space world, where to me anyway, the Mass Effect. I mean, if you think of particularly the first game, where I thought, oh wow, this would be good. You get to roam around between the planets. Actually, it's probably a good, 5 hours plus of gameplay before you even get to do that, because it's so constrained. I mean, even when you get to the spaceship, you're forced to go one place. I'm trying to remember. It's a long, long time since I played it, so I can sort of almost hearing people say, no, it's not. You should have done this, which is more than possible. And I'm also one of the few people I know of that didn't get to sleep with the alien in Mass Effect. So I don't know what I was doing that was wrong.
Damn.
There's a story. Anyway, let's not go into that either.
David, would you say that the space is the main character in Elite Dangerous then?
Yes, it's either space or the spaceship. This is the point. And that is very contrary to a marketing approach. And I think that's one of the things where, and this is more historic, because I think publishers have changed a lot of the way they're working. And doubtless, right now there are people looking at Elite Dangerous and the funding that Star Citizen's managed to get, and of course No Man's Sky. That they're looking at it and going, oh, well, actually, maybe we want some of this. But I think there is a danger, and we've seen it before. I've seen it before in lots of other genres where a phenomenally successful game is released, and then you have a year or two, and then there are lots and lots of, dare I say it, also rans in the same genre that aren't seen as anything like as good as that. Because what people and what is great about this day and age, I mean, you see it with Elite Dangerous, is Elite Dangerous isn't standing still. We're in an industry that changes so quickly. They're not competing with Elite Dangerous today. They're competing with Elite Dangerous at their launch date. And if that's a year or two hence, Elite Dangerous is continuing to get richer and better. So it's a case. I mean, if you look at, Destiny has got some of the pretensions of Elite. So I think the beautiful thing here is any competition is actually better for players, because it keeps us honest, it keeps the publishers honest. And to be honest, the world of games is so broad, and there are so many gaps of great opportunities to make games. What I would love to see is publishers doing new stuff. There are some wonderfully exciting indie creations coming through. Not just space games, but games that touch on different aspects of space. And personally, I'd love to see those explored. It does inwardly, I do sigh when I see a game that is incredibly similar to another game. I think, what is the point of putting all that effort in to do something that's remarkably similar and in some ways not as good? But it might be in some ways better. But do you see what I mean? It's that. Yeah, it's when you see films from Hollywood, you see two or more films with almost the exact same thematic content, and you start to think, oh, that second one was funded a lot later because it was done as a spoiler. Yeah. We see that with I don't want to name the movies, but where you get two within a few months of each other from rival studios that are remarkably similar.
Yeah, it's usually with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and one of them.
Quite often, yes. But it's not a new thing; it's been around for ages.
Yeah. Just when you're talking about that, there's something so exciting when you get a new mechanic as well, wasn't there? I was playing Super Hot today, and just there was a new mechanic in that time stops when you're not. Well, I don't know if it is a new mechanic, but it's certainly the first time I've came across it. Time stops when you're not moving, and I just loved that mechanic. It's a nice feeling when you get something new.
Yes, it is nice. I mean, it's things like that, messing with time. There've been lots of games that have done it, quite often in the title as well. They introduce rich mechanics where the world is paused and you can run around, or the world goes slowly. Or there are things you can do in the game to slow down the rest of the world. All of those mechanics, I think, work very, very well in sort of first-person type action games because they mess with the way you play with it.
Right.
And I think that's great, and I applaud a lot of these ideas often come out of an indie background. And I think what would be nice to see is some of these more ambitious indies sort of being helped by publishers. If you see what I mean, rather than publishers just going in almost a scorched earth policy,
Right.
of trying to say, oh, we'll have that, we'll do it from scratch, and we'll do it very badly. I mean, there are some games. I mean, look at the Dungeon Keeper and what EA did to it, which I thought was quite depressing in many ways in terms of the monetization. Sorry, I named a name of a game. I probably shouldn't have done that.
It's all right. So David, along these lines of coming out with new games and completely new IPs and publishing games, you guys took part in the Xbox One preview program. I guess, how did that help you guys out in developing the game and making it available on the Xbox One? And would you recommend that for other people that are creating new games?
Oh, I think it was a great program, and we were a big supporter. We were actually the very first game on it, or I think in the end it was almost joint first, but I think we were actually the first, and that was fantastic. And we were part of the announcement of the program as well. I mean, obviously we've got a very good relationship with Microsoft, and hats off for them for allowing us to do it. I think it helps developers a huge amount because the Xbox as a platform is quite different. I mean, I know technically there are similarities with PC, but it's the beautifully self-contained. You've got machines of a very similar, they're the same spec as each other. Whereas with PCs, you've got this huge sort of dynamic range. That I think it's a really, really good program, and it's great for seeing how people play the releases, because people do play quite differently on Xbox than to PC. Right. And so it was fantastic for us to sort of do a genuine exploration and test with the Xbox audience. It was very, very helpful. So I think I would recommend it to people.
Excellent.
Now, the game itself could be considered a wet dream for VR enthusiasts. How much was VR considered during the development process?
Well, I think the thing to remember is our team is made up of gamers who, and also, dare I say it, people like me who are sort of techie early adopters as well, who love shiny new things to play around with. and so, it was within 2 weeks or closer to a week of the launch of the alpha that we actually put in VR support for the Oculus Rift, as it was then, and later became known as the DK1.
Yeah.
And I was very pleased with that. We had in mind that we could support VR right from the design start, so it wasn't a huge leap. Although the confession is that I hadn't imagined we would put it in until a much later time, when the game was more mature. And I think it was partly sort of discussions with the team, so that people, they just wanted to, look, we'll do it in our own time and all this sort of thing. The enthusiasm was amazing. And I thought, well, look, if so many people here are this enthusiastic, then I'm sure there are people out there. And one of the things that I had said during the Kickstarter was, we're writing this game for ourselves, and that come and join us. This is what we want to make. And that is a brilliant, almost self-selecting system where we select people that are very like us. And therefore, we can, rather than going to, focus groups or whatever, we can just get in a huddle and say, do we really want this? And then we sort of guilty expression, a guilty smile, saying, yes, actually, we really do want this. And so, that's how it got in. And it's the wonderful freedom that both Kickstarter and being independent has got us. And to touch back on one of your previous questions with publishers, I know it would have had to have happened. We would have had to have made a business case for supporting VR.
Yeah.
That would have taken more manpower, person power, than actually implementing the thing, because we would say, well, all right, we'd have to trawl, say, we think there are going to be this many VR headsets. We think this percentage of the people with VR headsets will play our game. And you'd probably look at it in the face of it going, what, is that all? And how long will it take? And that can take a lot of time and be very distracting. Whereas this was actually really quick, because it was a case of, okay, let's spend a day on it and let's see what it's like. And we tried it in a DK1, that we had here, and it was brilliant. And so we thought we'd got to do this, and so we then turned it. We made because one of the problems when we first did it, it was only the view that worked. There is so much, and there's still we're still improving the elements of the UI that aren't very VR friendly, because that's always the challenge. How is it just a small section of the game you do in VR, or is it the whole thing? But no question, it's wonderful, and it's got so much better. The step from DK1 to DK2 was huge, and probably a similar step between DK2 and the released version, and similarly Vive. And I'm sure there are steps in the future as well. In terms of the resolution, you can still very easily see the pixels, but the experience keeps getting better, and in that it's sort of paralleling the earlier development of computers in the 80s, where the idea of not being able to see the pixels would have been incredible if you think of the resolutions. We were playing on not uncommon to have displays that were only 128 pixels across. If you think of the early PCs, and then 320 pixels across came, and it looked awesome, it looked brilliant. And now we're talking each eye being over 1,000 pixels. So we've come a long way, but there's still a long way to go.
So I'm just going to jump in here and ask you a question that I know that every single person who owns an Xbox One and plays your game is just clamoring for someone to ask you, probably for the umpteenth time. And that is, can you tell us some more about Horizons for the Xbox One? Have you got any idea of a release time for us?
We do. It's coming. We're very excited about it. The team are working on it now. Really, really excited to start showing it. It's coming this quarter 2 this year. We've not put a fixed date on it yet, but it's really awesome. They've done a good job driving around planet surfaces. All of that content is coming, and I'm really excited for people to see that on Xbox.
Wow,
that's awesome to hear. Would you be able to, just for any of our listeners that aren't familiar with Horizons yet, would you be able to just elaborate a little bit on what that entails?
So Horizons is coming. It's a season of content, very, very exciting in terms of what it does. It allows you to go down on to planet surfaces. That's surfaces without atmospheres. That's a ridiculous number of planets you can go and visit. You can land at surface starports that are around on these planets. There are also bases, some of which are secret, that you can go on missions to raid. You can do it with other players. You can discover other players out there. We're going straight in with the first 2 updates there have been that some people may have heard about, which is 2.0 and 2.1. In other words, planetary landings and the engineers. So sort of hitting the ground running, if you like. So there'll be a lot of exciting things to do and see. The other thing which we've already touched on, but just to emphasize, is there is a free update coming to Xbox sooner, which is the 1.6 update coming the same time as the PC.
Okay.
Which will also, there are new things being done for missions in the game, a lot of improvements to the interface that people have been asking for, and just a whole raft of rich changes that people will love.
Fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, moving on, of course, it's not just Elite Dangerous that you do work on. Another popular game from Frontier is Planet Coaster, which is currently in alpha. Could we ever see that coming to Xbox in future?
We haven't said any plans to do that. I mean, obviously, it's a challenging platform to do it on. So, we always keep a weather eye out on it. I think it's naturally fits as a PC game. So that's where it will be in the sort of foreseeable future, I think.
Yeah, no problem.
David, you're pretty active on Reddit. You post a lot on the Elite Dangerous subreddit and stuff like that. Do you have any other cool subreddits that you like to browse that you can share with us? Nothing too weird.
No. I often do look at Reddit, and I sometimes follow links. I do occasionally post. I post on our forums. I post on Reddit. I generally don't I think I've posted a few times on the Planet Coaster Reddit as well. But I generally don't, and also obviously the Xbox One Reddit subreddit. But generally don't post a lot around Reddit. To be honest, it's finding the time to look at it. At least I can sort of justify to myself when I'm on the Elite Reddit that it's useful. And obviously I've done quite a few AMAs. I've done an AMA on the Xbox One subreddit. I've done an AMA on the Elite Dangerous subreddit. So. And I think I've done others as well. But the point is, it's I think Reddit's great. Don't get me wrong, absolutely wonderful. And I love the way that the posts end up being filtered just by the way the system works.
Mm-hmm.
So David, we do have a few questions that we wanted to get in front of you from some of the subredditors, not necessarily all related to Elite Dangerous. I guess I'll start off and then I'll hand it over to Ross here. This is a bit of a goofy one. You guys did Connectimals. Do you have a favorite Connectimal?
I quite like the one that's sort of like a cheetah with the white with the flecks in it. I thought that looks really nice. And also they've got some lovely animations. I think it's astonishing the contrast between Planet Coaster, Elite Dangerous, Connectimals, Zoo Tycoon. The games that we've done. We have jumped around a lot, but that actually makes it keeps us on our toes.
Now, we've got a question from you/Foreman, and it's a bit lengthy, so bear with me. He knows that the pie is not Xbox related, but it would be a shame not to talk about it. He has a few versions at home and is constantly amazed at the stuff people create with it. First of all, how have you seen it used in an educational environment? And secondly, what use for the Raspberry Pi have surprised you the most?
Okay, so answering actually, I should just say a background for some people who I'm one of the co-founders of the Raspberry Pi Foundation. I'm still a trustee director of Raspberry Pi Foundation, and and it's great. I'm really, really proud of what we've done. Raspberry Pi is a little computer that sells for around $25, and we brought out a version called the Pi Zero for an astonishing $5, which is
amazing, by the way.
Ridiculous. And we even gave it away free on the cover of one of our magazine, which I think just feels so strange, given that it's a complete PC essentially. So, have I seen it used, or how have I seen it used in an educational environment? So the last time I saw it was a really wonderful thing done at the Raspberry Pi birthday event, where we had loads of kids in, and we brought our kids as well, and it was called Building Castles in Minecraft on a Raspberry Pi. And one of the wonderful things was we was using Python, a computer language I'm sure a lot of you know about, and some very simple script-based ways of, rather than having to build all the blocks in Minecraft manually, we had a very, very simple function that you could put a block in the game, in a live running game from script, and then using loops and things like that to create castle walls very, very quickly, and then including making the walls out of dynamite and see what happens, because it's things that are much harder to do, and it's sort of teaching people the structured programming, which sounds very dull, but it meant they could make really big, elaborate castles, things that would take flipping ages to do really quickly. And it was to mostly 10 to 12-year-olds, and obviously adults helping. And it was wonderful to see it, and it was the fact that the whole thing was very open, that we've always taken with Raspberry Pi is it's the opposite of a secure platform. Everything is accessible, and it makes it hacking very easy. But that's a very, very good way to learn. It's the way I learned, and so I'm very proud of how that works. And and then going on to your second question, obviously it's ideal for where money is tight. I think the use that most surprised me, though, was where taking pictures from orbit in a Raspberry Pi. one of the things that, by luck actually, with the original Model B we got right, was the power consumption is quite low and it can run off 4 AA batteries. But we got it just right. It uses just enough current to stop the batteries freezing. One of the problems with AA batteries, if you put them out in space, is they quite quickly cool down, and at about, I think it's about minus 60 centigrade or something, they stop giving power, which is quite bad if you need power. But the great thing is they draw just enough power to keep the batteries warm, which means they keep giving power. So the people I think it was possible at one point the world's, or thought to be the world's highest personal computer, where it went higher than any airplane, up to I think 100,000 feet or something like that, before the balloon popped and it came back down. And that's because a lot of the ones that go into things like the space shuttle, which of course now has had, not space shuttle, the space station, has now had a Raspberry Pi in it, but a lot of those are sort of essentially mil-spec type things that have been specially hardened for use in space. And if you've seen AstroPi, which is a special version of the Raspberry Pi, which Tim Peake has been working on lately, you may have seen, is really great, things that people are doing on it, and very, very exciting. But I think the key thing is what I think one of the side benefits of Raspberry Pi that we've been doing since, for quite a while now, since about 2008, is we've made programming a lot more fashionable. That before that, it was seen as a very nerdy sort of activity, whereas now we're seeing a lot of girls getting involved. We're seeing people creating really good, fun stuff. I mean, the thing that I love most is just seeing a Raspberry Pi with lots of gaffer tape and blue tack on a robot, doing some interesting stuff like following lines on the floor or whatever it is, because you learn so much in doing that. You learn a bit of hardware, you learn how power works, you learn how to wire up a motor. All of those things are wonderful activities to do in school, or it's principally after school clubs actually where it really comes into its own.
Amazing. Well, I've got a 5-year-old, and just knowing that things like Raspberry Pi are about, and the development that he's going to get from something, frankly, that you were fully involved in at the beginning is amazing.
I agree, and I hope so. I mean, we've seen classes of 6 and 7 years old, so not very much older than your kid, using Scratch. Because the other thing we've done, we've tried to make sure. I mean, Scratch, I don't know if you know, it's a very friendly drag and drop language. Yeah. With, look it up if you haven't. It doesn't have to. You don't have to run it on a Raspberry Pi. But we've got an optimized version that actually runs quite fast, so you can do quite fun things with it. But do take a look, because for younger children that works really well.
I think the BBC bringing that in. Oh, this is going to be great for non-American listeners, but it's
hey, we get the BBC
coding. You pay for it.
I don't know what channel it is, but it's on.
Well, I suppose we pay for it here, but I'm cutting that out. Now, we do have a funny question that we do ask all of our guests, so I'm sorry in advance for having to ask you this, okay? But what classic video game character could you knock out with one punch? You want some context and some examples?
If you like, and my first thought, I don't know.
Oh no, I want to hear your first thought.
No.
Who else have?
Well, I think sort of Link at the beginning of Zelda, because he's such so rubbish. He gets really good by the end because he's got swords and stuff. But given that right at the start of, I was thinking, I think my favourite Zelda game was probably Zelda on the 64. Oh God, it's Ocarina of Time. Yeah, lovely game, but it's Link at the start is so rubbish.
No, that is a very good answer. Just to see the other answers.
So what are some of the other answers then?
Right, so Duck Hunt Dog times very 2. Popular. 2 people have mentioned Duck Hunt Dog.
Right.
Major Nelson said Frogger.
Oh yes, that's a good one.
Yeah. Anyone else, Rhys? Remind me.
Well, I said Qbert. And Clay said Paperboy.
Yeah, Paperboy is another one as well. But we're developing this list of classic ones.
And Echo the Dolphin.
Echo the Dolphin. The Xbox support team like knocking out animals. That's what we've discovered. But look, anyway, thank you so much for joining us today.
Lovely. You're very, very welcome. Lovely talking to you.
that was an absolutely amazing interview. I just could sit and listen to you all day, to be honest with you, as I'm sure the listeners could, but you're such a busy man. We'll let you move on.
You're too kind.
But again, thank you. And Rhys, anything else to add?
No, nothing. Thank you so much, David. This is, like Ross said, I've just been sitting here at the edge of my seat like, ooh, wow. It's so interesting. I didn't know any of this stuff about the Raspberry Pi. But, so yeah, thanks for sharing with us. And
You're very welcome.
hopefully we can have you come back at some point.
Yeah,
excellent.
Please do.
I'd love to.
Wow, guys, I do not know about you, but that was an amazing chat that we seemed to have with him. I could literally listen to that man speak for hours.
It was so good. I think we could just do like a weekly podcast of David Braben talks about stuff.
Can I say nerdgasm on this?
Yeah, I think you can.
Because that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. Guys, if you enjoyed it, put down in the messages below, tweet us, tweet David. One of the most interesting people I've ever had the pleasure of having a chat with.
Really?
So, yeah, and I'm looking forward to the latest updates that are coming out
Yeah.
whenever they appear.
Go
So
pick up
excited.
Horizons.
So.
Yeah.
I'm the huge Elite fan, like I mentioned before, and during the interview, I have played hundreds of hours of Elite, so I am super excited.
So as we've mentioned before, make sure if you guys have any comments or feedback for us that you'd like for us to talk about on the next podcast, do so in the comments or hit us up on Twitter. Right now, we've got a few comments that we want to chat about. The first one being from user Canistesium, who asked us all to read off a little MAME thing here to test out our...
Wait, stop. Did you just say MAME?
Yeah, isn't it a MAME thing?
Oh my god. Get off this podcast. Get off the internet. You are no longer welcome here. It's a meme.
MAME.
Meme.
MAME.
At least you didn't call it a May, I suppose.
MAME. So,
Good Lord.
who wants to read this off first?
I think you're making us do it, so you do it.
All right, I'll be the first one to read this off. If two witches watched two watches, which witch would watch which watch?
Nicely done.
Yeah. Brush off my
I think I should go
shoulders.
next, seeing as I'm the one who actually asked the question. It was based on mine and Ross's accents. So, if two witches watched two watches, which witch would watch which watch?
Ross.
If two witches watch two watches, which witch would you watch? Which witch?
You guys.
Oh, so moving on from that I don't know what that was, train wreck of requests there.
Groundbreaking
This is getting
journalism.
cut, by the way. This
Yeah.
is getting cut.
User Energy
all of
gave
that.
us User Energy gave us some apparent clarification on our DVR conversation that we had in episode 3, stating that apparently, at least of last year, the plan for the DVR is that it will require a separate external hard drive dedicated to just the DVR. This is to prevent performance degradation when playing a game and DVRing at the same time. Doing both on one hard drive would cause too much contention. Well, that actually makes a lot of sense. And
That does seem legit.
yeah. Now I just
But
need
this is a rumor.
Now I just need a new slim console that has extra USB ports. So
And a handle.
and a handle. That's right. And no disk drive. And a built-in microphone.
So, Clay, if people wanted to get a hold of us, where would they find us?
Yeah, Ross, I was hoping we could give you out your phone number and people could text you throughout the week. No, the best place to hit us up is here on the Xbox One subreddit. You can find us over in the wiki, as well as there should be a little sticky posting every week once we get the podcast up, as well as over on Twitter is a great place to follow us, get a hold of us. We're very active over on there, and that is X1 Party Chat over on Twitter.
Fantastic. And if we wanted to get a hold of you guys personally, how would we do it? Airmail?
Airmail is not a bad idea. You can find me over on the subreddit at Uncle_Jessy, as well as over on Twitter at Uncle Jessy for real. Rhys, how about yourself?
Now, me, I prefer pigeon to airmail, but if your pigeons aren't feeling too good, you can find me at @delicious_cheese with the fancy green mod hat on the subreddit, and you can also find me on Twitter at delicious cheese. That's with a Z.
So you can find me on the subreddit as Moss842 or on Twitter at RossM1984. You can see I like my numbers.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and guess that's your birthday.
No?
Oh.
Oh, okay.
So you're just...
I was born in 1997.
Yeah, that seems legit.
Yeah, I'm 32. It was 1984. But anyway, that is the end of another episode. Thank you to Frontier and David Braben for joining us here. And a thank you to you, Rhys.
You are very welcome.
And to you, Clay.
Woohoo! Thank you, Ross.
We'll catch you each and every Wednesday on the subreddit and Xbox Off.
Game on, baby. Wow!
Don't make a girl a promise you can't keep.
Let's do this.
I learned this in English lessons in school. You want to know the most difficult and yet the most simple tongue twister there is in English? I'll tell you. Okay, say slowly with me. Red lolly, yellow lorry.
Red... What was that?
Red lolly,
Red lolly.
yellow lorry. Like the truck.
Red... Hey, I can't even repeat that. It's not happening.
Hold on.
Red lorry,
Wait.
red lolly.
I'll
Red...
write it down for you.
I'm having another Steen Stein moment here. So...
There, it's written,
And by
it's
the
written
way-
in chat. There you go.
All right.
Say it for me.
Red lolly, yellow lorry. Red
Ross?
lolly, yellow lorry.
Just
Red lolly, yellow lorry.
all right. Now say it 5 times fast.
Oh, jeez.
Red lolly, yellow
Fast.
lorry. Red lolly, yellow lorry. Red lolly, yellow lorry. Red lolly, yellow lorry. Red lolly, yellow
All right,
lorry.
all right, all right. Now switch it around. Red lorry, yellow lolly.
And the purpose of this is...
Well, I don't know. Oh wait, this was a gaming podcast, wasn't it?
yeah.
Thank you,
Red
Professor.
lorry, yellow lolly. Red lorry, yellow lorry. Red lorry, yellow lolly. Red lorry, yellow lolly. Red lorry, yellow lolly.
If someone could send us a recording of them saying that 5 times really fast, like you're just amazing. Red lorry, yellow lolly. Red lolly, yellow lorry.
So
Like that.
Ross,
Moving
Ross, I need you before we move on to read that back again in your true Scottish accent.
Oh, so not the... So everyone can understand me voice?
Yes.
Yeah, that
Right,
that
okay.
or your best Sean Connery impersonation.
Oh, my Sean Connery impersonation is not good. So, if 2 witches watch 2 watches, which witch would watch which watch?
That's not too dissimilar. Just so very fast. No, I
So
don't.
this has been Xbox One Party Chat, and we're signing out.
Peace.
Bye.
Wait, do people still say peace anymore?
Apparently you do.
Apparently you, yeah.